Pope takes a poop and the president too, and the fancy dance banker in his three-piece suit, the big fat general and all of his troops. The truth of the matter is everybody poops. The famous brain surgeon has to leave his lump, and the high-priced model has to stop for a dump. But can the size of Canada can't spray away the truth, cause even if they don't admit it, everybody poops.
What's up, homies? Nicole here. You are currently watching the third video of Ceci and I's vegan series that we're releasing this June. So hopefully you've seen the first one, which I filmed, and the second one, which Cecile has filmed. So this video is titled How to Go Vegan, and in my opinion, it is probably one of the most important. Just because if you do go vegan, or if you're considering going vegan, you do need to be aware of how to go vegan, what you need to be consuming, what you need to be eating, so you don't die. Because lots of people think that when you go vegan, you will die. But if you don't do it properly, if you don't go vegan properly, if you eat lots of french fries, lots of processed foods like Oreos, which are vegan apparently, then you might actually die. Maybe not right off the bat, but within a couple of years, your body will slowly deteriorate until you become this emaciated skeleton. If you want to not die, keep watching this video and I will explain what you need to be eating. In case my accent isn't obvious enough or you hadn't picked it up from the last videos, I am indeed American, and as you can probably expect, in the United States, roughly 68% of the population is overnourished / obese. And with that overnourishment and obesity come a variety of health problems, which I mentioned in the first video. And despite the rates of obesity in the US and overnourishment in the Western world, there is a global epidemic of micronutrient deficiency. And you're probably asking right now, what the fuck is micronutrient deficiency? Well, friends, Mama's here to the rescue. Micronutrient deficiency is when your body is lacking a couple minerals or vitamins, or maybe many minerals and vitamins that you don't get from your diet. Because you may not know this, but you do get all the selenium, iodine, protein, fats, and carbs from your food. And if you're not eating a very varied diet, you may not be getting select nutrients that your body needs to function. And so because of that, you are micronutrient deficient. And although you may not have any sort of reaction now, although you may feel fine, in 30, 40 years, you may develop health conditions that stemmed from that initial micronutrient deficiency. And if you want to get rid of that now, eat a varied diet or just keep watching this video. And so what I'm going to be talking about in this video isn't specific to vegans. It's really for everyone. If you want to be healthy, you don't want to develop health conditions later in life, you want to be aware of what you're eating. You want to be aware of the micronutrients that your body essentially needs to function, and what you need to consume, how to get those minerals, get those vitamins, get those micronutrients. You can be micronutrient deficient regardless of your diet, whether or not you are an herbivore, carnivore, or omnivore. You can be lacking in several of the essential micro and macronutrients that your body requires. Chances are, if you're watching this video right now, you are probably micronutrient deficient in some or other vitamin or mineral. And you're probably thinking, well, I don't live in some undeveloped country, I eat a lot in a day, so I must be overnourished or just perfectly nourished. Well, chances are you probably aren't. If you aren't eating a very well-varied diet, if you don't incorporate lots of legumes and vegetables into your diet every day, then chances are you're probably micronutrient deficient. But because this is a vegan video specifically tailored to make sure that vegans are getting all the nutrients they need, or that you are aware of what micronutrients you need if you go vegan, I'm going to be talking about mostly the micronutrients that aren't available in vegan diets or often lacking because we're no longer eating meat and dairy products. The most commonly lacking vitamins in a vegan diet are vitamin B12, vitamin D, and calcium. However, you should also be aware of other micronutrients like selenium, iodine, vitamin A, vitamin K, all the vitamin Bs, as well as other macronutrients like proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. So I'm basically going to split up these videos into two. The third video will now be in two parts, one for macronutrients and one for micronutrients. And right now you're probably like, what the fuck, Nicole? What is a macronutrient versus a micronutrient? You were just talking about micronutrient deficiencies. Well, don't worry, I'm explaining. Whether you're a health guru or whether you're not, you have probably heard of 3 of the 4 macronutrients in the human body: protein, carbohydrates, and fats. And they are essential, just like micronutrients, for our bodies to work. We cannot live without carbs, proteins, and fats. So you have probably heard of the 3 macronutrients that I'm going to talk about today. Either it's on food labels, or it's on TV, or if you've done some crazy diet, you've probably heard of it. And the reason why they're called macronutrients is that they're building blocks of life, essentially. Proteins, carbs, and fats exist in various different forms, and they use the same components, but they exist in so many different ways. Micronutrients, on the other hand, are minerals, vitamins. They exist in their sole forms, like iodine or vitamin A. So first I'm going to talk about protein. So if you have recently gone vegan or are contemplating going vegan, you've probably heard the following question a bajillion times. Where do you get your protein from? You can tell all those haters the following sentence. You can get an optimal quantity of protein from a plant-based diet to sustain all of your body's functional needs. Yeah. You tell them. A vegan diet can be short of protein if you do eat mostly processed food or eat a lot of fruit, because fruit don't provide that much protein, and yet there's a lot of the shit in processed food. So if you're like me and you weren't paying attention in high school bio, you might be asking, what is protein? What is protein? Does anyone actually know what it is? We just hear about it all the time. We know we need to eat it. But what is protein? Protein is basically a component of muscle, it's a component of bone. Any sort of function that occurs in our body requires it. Protein is essentially a molecule in your body that exists in a bajillion different forms, that accomplishes a bajillion different functions. You can have protein to protect your body from foreign substances, and those are antibodies. They exist to accomplish reactions, and those are known as enzymes. They coordinate bodily functions, those are known as hormones, and they exist as carriers to move oxygen and other molecules around the body. So, you don't actually need as much protein as most people think. The recommended daily intake is from 0.8 to 1 gram per kilogram of body weight. So for example, I weigh roughly 140 to 145 pounds, which is about 65 kilograms. And so if we're going on the max recommended intake, which is 1 gram per kilogram, then I need roughly 65 grams of protein every single day. And you can easily satisfy that with lentils, beans, and other legumes, but I'll talk about dietary sources in a second. The amount of protein, I'm not going to lie, does depend on age, body weight, how much you exercise, etc. So old people and young children who require protein for bone growth and development will require more protein than an average adult from 18 to 55 years old. But if you are within that age range, be assured that 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight is sufficient, and you don't need much more than that. Plant-based sources of protein include soy-based products like tofu and tempeh, legumes like lentils, beans, chickpeas, etc., among beans, veggie meats, so they're typically soy-based products like vegetarian turkey, vegetarian meats, veggie burgers, falafel, blah blah blah. Anything that has beans, lentils, legumes, soy are vegan, and they are filled with protein. So, like I said before, protein is made up of molecules known as amino acids. Amino acids make up all the proteins in our body. The hundreds of thousands of proteins that perform every function that our body needs that keeps us alive are made up from 20 building blocks, from 20 amino acids. 9 of them are essential amino acids that we can only get from our diet. The other 11 can be made up or built from those 9 essential amino acids, so it's important that we get them from our diet. Meat provides all 9 of those essential amino acids because animals also require them. But where are they getting all those amino acids? From legumes, from beans, from vegetables. So at the end of the day, animals are getting protein, and that's where we get our protein from if you're a carnivore, if you're an omnivore. But if you're vegan, you don't necessarily get all those 9 amino acids from one vegetable, from one legume, because animals don't. But if you think about it, animals, cows, chickens, goats, they're getting their protein from plants as well. The protein that we find in meat are plant-based sources of protein. So we can get all the protein that we want without having to eat animals. So if you're vegan and you're eating protein, you do need to be aware of where you're getting amino acids from. But be assured, if you have a varied diet, like I said, if you get anything from this video, just get this. Eat a well-varied diet. because you will get all the protein, all the fats, all the carbs if you eat lots of different things. The second factor that's important in protein is digestibility. So when I say digestibility, I mean how much of that protein is being absorbed by your body. How much is it taking up? How much of the protein from the food you're consuming is being absorbed and is being used for your bodily function. Basically, you want to try and aim for high digestibility, because the more it's digestible, the more of the micronutrients are absorbed by your body for use. However, don't be tricked by certain foods. Processed and refined foods like white breads, pastas, all of that white flour-based products, they do have high levels of digestibility. But the reason for that is not because it's being absorbed by your body. You're not absorbing lots of nutrients, because in refining, in processing, a lot of those essential nutrients that your body needs is taken out. The fiber that you need is taken out, which isn't good, because what are you eating? You're basically eating nothing. So if you do eat a lot of whole plant-based foods like tofu, tempeh, lentils, beans, all the stuff that I mentioned, then you will have high amounts of absorption and high amounts of digestibility. But like I said, make sure that your sources are varied. So the second macronutrient I'll be talking about are fats. And although you may think of fats as a bad thing, because that's how the media and lots of different health experts like to portray fats, fats really are essential for your body as well. But there are good fats and there are bad fats. And if you're going to go vegan, you do need to make sure you're eating lots of those healthy, good fats. Fats are essential for your body, basically for energy. They store twice as much energy as carbohydrates. You need fats for hormones, you need them for cell membranes. They are essential for insulation and for protection of vital organs. You need them as hormones. Fat is important for healthy skin, bones, and hair. So bottom line is, fat is important. There are many different types of fats, and you've probably heard of all of them. So there's monounsaturated, polyunsaturated, saturated, and the really, really bad processed, artificially produced trans fatty acids, or known as trans fats. The other fats are generally good. You want to include many of them in your diet, all different types of those three that I mentioned, the monounsaturated, the polyunsaturated, and the saturated, to have a varied, healthy diet with fats. Like with proteins and like with carbs, fats are made of tiny essential building blocks known as the essential fatty acids, and you need them to make every fat in your body. You require these essential fatty acids to build up long chain fats that your body requires for virtually all the functions that I mentioned before. So how much fat do you need? It's recommended to have a daily caloric intake of roughly 10% to 35% of fats. In terms of the fatty acids, omega-3 and omega-6, you do need to eat both of them. Omega-6 is more common in fats. It's more common in the foods that we eat, and so we tend to overconsume omega-6, but you do need to eat lots of omega-3s as well. And they have different fat sources have different amounts of omega-3s versus omega-6s. So you do need to make sure that you're eating foods that have both omega-3s and omega-6s. So sources of omega-3 are chia seeds, flax seeds, canola oil, and walnuts. Sources of omega-6 are sunflower seeds, sesame seeds, rapeseed, hemp seeds, all these different types of seeds. Other sources of fats are avocados, olives, and nuts. So as long as you include a variety of different types of nuts and seeds in your diet, you should be okay, and you probably won't have to worry about the omega-3s and the omega-6s and all that crap. The last micronutrient I'll be talking about is carbs. And as you probably know, carbs are used for energy. Carbs supply energy to your brain, to your nervous system, to your red blood cells, and you need a lot of it. You can't function day to day without carbs, without energy. Nutrition experts recommend eating about 45 to 70% carbs every single day, depending on your body weight and depending, like the other macronutrients, on the amount of physical activity that you do. As I mentioned before, there are different types of carbohydrates. There's two types really that we're all talking about. There's refined and then there's unrefined. Refined carbohydrates are those that I talked about earlier. They're processed, they made from processed grains or processed-based starchy foods like potatoes. So all of that food that are easy to get, that are cheap, that's probably refined. And like I said before, they have high digestibility but low absorption into your body. And then there are unrefined foods, and those are generally whole grain, plant-based foods like barley, like quinoa, like couscous, brown rice, all of that stuff. and it is very good for your body. You absorb it very well, and it helps with your intestinal tract, it helps with digestion, and it gives you lots and lots of energy. So you do want to be consuming a lot of that. Refined food provide a lot of the simple carbohydrates that are easily and very quickly used by the body for energy. However, unrefined foods, they give you a lot more complex carbohydrates. And complex carbohydrates are what your body needs most, because they can store that energy for long periods of time. You may feel hungry very quickly when you eat lots of processed food, and that's because it's providing you quick energy right away. It's not storing that energy for the long term. Carbohydrates also contain a lot of fiber, and fiber is really good for you. Fiber has been considered nature's root, because it kind of gets rid of all the shit in your body, in your gastrointestinal tract very quickly. It just kind of sweeps everything every day. And if you're eating a lot of whole grain based foods, then you're probably going to be shitting fairly often. I know I've pooped probably 3 or 4 times a day. So if you're pooping a lot, that's a very good sign. So there is a whole grain hierarchy. There is a hierarchy of grains that provide the most nutrients, provide the most energy, to those that provide the least. And generally, it goes from unrefined grains to refined grains, as you can expect. And I put it in the description below. So at the top of the whole grain hierarchy are the intact whole grains. And these provide you the most energy, like bulgur, like brown rice, quinoa, all these superfoods that you probably hear about all the time. And then down the hierarchy, we have the more of the broken carbohydrates and more processed. So rolled oats, flours, until we get to cereals and puff cereals, which have the lowest amount of energy, the least amount of nutrients. So try and stay away from this side. Try and stay here. The bottom line is you want your grain, your carbohydrate to resemble most like the plant. The more it's refined, the more it's taken away from that original plant form, the more processed, and the more de-richment, the most amount of nutrients that have been taken out. And if your carbohydrate resembles the plant, there's more nutrients in it, and so you don't have to eat that much of it. And the last type of carbohydrate I'll talk about is sugar. And I don't want to be the bad guy here and tell you not to eat sugar, because let's be real, everyone consumes sugar, and so do I. But I'm just going to say this one little thing. It is recommended by nutrition experts to not consume more than 10% of sugars in your diet. Well, you should know that there are different types of sugars. There's sugars from plants, so like fruits, and honey and agave and all that stuff. And then there is sugar from refined products. So what you find in cookies and Oreos and all that yummy but gunky stuff. So bottom line is, you can have sugar, you can have all that stuff, as long as you eat sugar from good sources, from plant-based sources. So no worries. Congratulations, people! You have made it past part 1 of video 3.